So my presentation will be in English, and I apologize if anybody is not going to understand something, but um, so the title of this talk is The Observation of Our Dreams, the Key to Achieve Them. I'm an architect and I work in film, and my name is Mattia Fiumani, by the way, and while I was studying architecture, sketching was a big deal. Every teacher would encourage us to sketch as much as we could. It was a way to find out about space, to find out about buildings, architecture, and whatever was surrounding us. There was something about sketching that was really motivating for a student, because while sketching you would be able to basically do what Picasso was saying. You pick up a brush and you start getting inspired, theoretically. So basically what's happening is that there's something in front of you, and from being just an observer passing by, you become a careful observer. So there is something that's happening while sketching, which is a bit like our major clue here in this talk, because in sketching there is time. During the time that we're sketching, there is a process that gets acted, and it's a process of appropriation of a space. So while we digest this space by sketching it, it's not just a meditative kind of process, but it's also something that allows us to walk a path. This pathway is the pathway that actually was already walked by the author of the result that we're sketching. The architect, designer, creator of any kind of place that we're sketching walked a special pathway. This pathway took him from an idea to a final result. This pathway, we do exactly the same thing, but we work it backwards. So we start from the final image, and we go back to an idea. As we practice, we might find out that our sketch actually looks a lot like what the architect or the designer had in its mind before starting the whole process of designing. So there is something that is called synthesis that belongs to sketching, and during our synthesis we pick up a number of elements that we choose in a space. We select them, we isolate them, and we recompose them on a sheet of paper. We might find out that something is more interesting than something else, but that doesn't really matter, because maybe that was the whole idea at the beginning, was trying to put something somewhere and not really care about the context. Maybe not. We might find out that what we like about a place is something else. But the important thing really is that we become first-row spectators of something, and what we look at, it's at the start it's an idea coming to life. So bunch of sketches I did while I was a student, and in different places. And traveling was something that belonged to my years at uni. I started in Australia, went on to Scotland, and finished in Europe. And sketching was a way to keep track of my journeys, more than photography actually, because photography is an instant kind of visual tool. It's something that's bringing us like a very immediate and vivid memory, but sketching has a richer kind of, it's more of a richer experience, richer memory. Because we see a place changing under light, under different crowd conditions, and we kind of experience it in different moments and stages of its life. So this is the path that Solbas was talking about, because really design is a process of thinking, and as I was saying, working it backwards is something that make us closer to the initial idea. So all this to say that I want to go somewhere actually with you, but sketching is it's probably what's going to take us across. On my final year at school, I ran into a very special book called the Book of the Dreams by Federico Fellini. At that time, sketching had become some kind of process for me, like something I was doing basically almost on a daily basis. And sketches by Fellini had a very different kind of look, of course. The sketches that Fellini would make were a collage of different places and spaces and conditions and situations, vignettes, talking, dialogues, people moving, decor. There was a life inside the sketches that I was looking at. So the pattern of information they had chosen to put together in his sketches was telling me something about the importance of the idea being more about an event. Fellini in his dreams actually had the idea that was drawing came from his dreams, and quite obviously his dreams were where the muse would come and visit him. So I realized, well, if he finds his idea not because he's responding to a space, then probably it's because the muse is inside his head. So maybe the muse is a mirror, and Fellini is looking at his muse, or maybe he's looking at himself. Fellini, maybe it's his own muse. So I started sketching my dreams, and while I was doing this, I realized that sketching dreams is not so easy. We start with patches of dreams, and how do I recollect the whole dream? So we start building bridges, and we start reconnecting whatever we remember of dreams. And at that time, I was working, during my final year at uni, I was working as a projectionist. Bunch of movies, because I was working in a cinema. And when you watch at movies from inside the projectionist booth, you have a very dreamy experience. First of all, the projectionist booth is acoustic proof, so you don't hear the sound, you only see the images through a little piece of glass, and also you watch the same movie more than once during the day. So the non-chronological order, the lack of sound started building in my head the idea of cinema as a dreamy science, something between architecture and psychology or psychoanalysis, I don't know exactly what, but I went on looking at cinema as my major interest. So I went to Berlin, worked as a set designer, and I kept looking at my dreams during that time, and I realized that there is a process, that it's possible. So as I left behind me the sketching as the first kind of inspiration, I looked at writing dreams and audio recording dreams. After the audio recordings, I would sketch whatever came out of it. This is a major championship, by the way, of table soccer. It's like a World Cup of table soccer with 1,000 players. I had a dream like this, and I recorded it, and then I sketched it. So I would go to bed, leave my phone on the bedside table, and then record dreams while I was awake, and sometimes I would even forget that I had recorded something. And I had like a 30 minutes recording on my phone, where I was like talking for 2 minutes and sleeping for 28. But anyway, something came out of it, and I realized that I had built something in my head, like a little machine, basically. Something that allowed me to remember dreams. I realized this because I was at the time working at a TV station where I only had 15 minutes rest between breaks. It was a live TV. So on live TVs you have sharp times, and you can't basically mess up. And you have very regular breaks. I'd sleep during those breaks, and basically during the power naps, I realized that every time I was closing my eyes, I wake up and the lucid dreaming left something in my head. So hypnagogia, by the way, is not something that I made as a tool. Like Salvador Dali, I mean, of course, a lot of creatives do it, but historically, Salvador Dali wouldn't pick up a brush before staying awake for 3 days. Or Beethoven would take long carriage rides around Vienna, and during his dreams write notes and whatever. And the Beat Generation poets with the Dream Machine. So there was something that within dreams attracted me, and I decided to make this as a tool. One interesting thing during all this process is that I realized a lot of things actually that happen in your dreams happen on a regular basis. You start meeting people, you start seeing places, you start being in places more than once. Every time is a different person, it's a different condition. So sketching came back as a tool to know a place, because as you sketch a dream, as you make a synthesis of the dream, you realize that there is something that changes within the dream. And there was one place more recurrent than the others that would come back, and that place was a collection of spaces that I had seen before in films. I wasn't really sure what it was. Sometimes it would have fans, some other time it would be a saxophone, some other times there would be people dancing. It was a club scene, dogs and stuff. I mean, it's like a dream basically. But basically, what happened in that dream is that I was pretty sure about that city being Los Angeles. I never been in Los Angeles. I didn't know what Los Angeles looked like, but I kind of knew I was there basically. So there is something about dreams. You're both the author and the audience at the same time. So there are things you just know. After that, I decided when I quit my job at the TV station, I said, well, let's do something crazy. Let's do something that people usually don't do. Let's follow dreams, like actual dreams. And let's go to Los Angeles. So I decided to go to Los Angeles, and I didn't know anybody in Los Angeles. I only had a friend. She could host me for a week, and then she said, well, now you're on your own. And I didn't have any plans. Right away, like a series of coincidences took place. I met a relative I didn't know I had in Los Angeles. He was working in film, and I met a bunch of great people that became really close friends, and I had opportunities like filming the landing on the moon and stuff that I really didn't know. I never had those opportunities before. And that happened in a very short time. So I said, okay, that's what happens when you follow your dream, that maybe coincidences take place. It's not just about following your dreams, I think. It's about listening to your dreams and wiring your consciousness with your subconscious that maybe allows you to be more careful about something that happens in your head at night, that pushes you into a different kind of dimension that is about trying to make something real. So that's a quote that I thought was interesting, because the exactly same thing happened while moving to Los Angeles. But there was something else that happened. I think actually what was interesting is that when you are restricted in life and there's things you want to do, but you can't really do them, or maybe other things that you think could be attractive to you, but you can't, don't have the conditions to go across and do them. Those impulses, they release at night, they release into your dream space, and they warp. They basically make you think that you're accomplished and that something is happening, that it's kind of wrapping your life together. When you start listening to your dreams, when you start becoming aware of your dreams, conscious about your dreams, everything kind of works. So that pathway that I was talking about before, it's actually possible with dreams, I believe, because when you sketch something and you're looking at a final image and you try to walk back to an idea, well, dreams is something like an idea, and you look at it and you walk your way backwards and you warp it backwards and try to make it become your life. It's a process. I think it's just possible. So when I was at school in my final year, following a referendum in Switzerland that abolished the construction of minarets on mosques, I decided to take a stand and make something about it, and I designed a mosque in Switzerland. So this was a challenging task because, of course, there's a grid in every city, and especially on some new cities like this one. And I had a mosque, the footprint of a mosque to place inside this grid. What was the first challenge I received was to basically kind of fit the two things together. And I said, well, there is an in-between space here. There is kind of a pillow space between the two bodies. And from being a challenge, I thought actually that was a very interesting moment, because from a cultural point of view, an architectural point of view, that space had a lot of power, actually. It had the power of bringing two cultures together, had the power of having very special light conditions. And I recalled this project while I was recording my dreams, and I thought, okay, then now I'm intersecting my consciousness with my subconscious. What is happening is not just an intersection of the two, I mean becoming aware of this intersection, but something new is happening. There is a very special ground, some kind of source of endless possibilities from this. So to wrap up, time's up, time to rest. So there is something that happens while you become conscious of your dream space, of your oniric space. There is some kind of special door that divides two rooms, two very clear rooms in your head. You open the door and you dream. You keep that door open and you become conscious of your dreams. What's happening on the other room, there's a lot of stuff in the room, not just pretty stuff. But you can, when you sketch, you can select some certain elements, be aware of them, isolate them, and bring them on the other side, and make them flourish, if you wish. And your eyes, your instinct will know what your eyes need, and your eyes will choose those elements for you. And you always have a blank space, a little piece of white paper in your life where you can still take those elements, put them across, recompose them, and maybe you get lucky. Thank you.